another Whoa Wednesday with me, Mr. Goodie Grammar. I cannot thank you enough for dropping by General Grammar. Why am I here? Well, I'm on my lunch break, and per always, I'm going to hide off in the beautiful, luxurious bathroom of General Grammar. But the cool thing is, to pass the time, we're going to go ahead and go over independent and dependent clauses today. So buckle up, grammar goodies, because I have some incredible things planned. You ready? Well, before we begin, let's go ahead and give ourselves a whoa. So on 3, I want you to say whoa. 1, 2, and 3. Whoa! Wednesday. Let's jump into it. Ooh. As I press this. Yeah. Here we go, grammar goodies. Here's the whole outline for this evening. I'm going to go ahead and start with some sentence shoutouts. These are sentences that you put into the comment section on any of our videos and various social media platforms. As I told you, if you're participating, you will get a shout out. Then we're going to jump into a basket breaker, followed by drinking up some radioactive waste, some employee assistance where I'm going to ask you a couple of practice questions, then an aisle check to kind of wrap things together, followed by gasp! The Grammar Goodie sentence shout out of the week. Did you get it? What is it? Oh, well, it is the best sentence that you put into the comment section. Is it going to be you? Ooh, we'll find out at the very end, so stick around. Then we'll go ahead and, sadly, check out for the evening. But I am so excited to get into it. So whether you're hanging out with me right now on Facebook Live or a little later on YouTube, make sure to participate in the comment section. You don't want to miss out. And with that, let's go ahead and jump into some sentence shoutouts. The first sentence shoutout goes to Talk Zeus 2. Yeah. Talk Zeus 2 said, the boy refused to countenance that pineapple is good on pizza. Well, that boy and I both refuse to countenance, which means agree in this context, that pineapple is good on pizza. Is pineapple good on pizza? No! In no way! Personal preference. I just want to say what is good, though. Talk Zeus 2! You did it! I love this sentence, so huge shout out to you. Our second shout out goes to Bilal Zafar. Awesome name. And Bilal Zafar says, I am flabbergasted by my opponent's move. Me too. Me too. Great job. Here, the word flabbergasted is used for shock, awe, caught off guard, which the opponent's move did. Great job. And remember, stick around until the very end to see if you got the Grammar Goodie sentence shout out of the week. Let's go a little forward and start with a basket breaker.
Uh-oh.
For this week's basket breaker, the question is, what empowers you? What gives you confidence? Ooh, gets you going to say, I'm independent and I can do this all. What empowers you? Take a second and think about it. And then go ahead and type your question and answer into the comments. Why? I want to know about you, grammar goodies. So what empowers you? Put that into the comment section. I'm going to go ahead and think about it for a second. What empowers me? Okay, time's up. Let me go ahead and tell you. What empowers me is any type of fake mustache. Because when I put on a fake mustache, I cease to be myself. I become a completely different person. Someone who's probably a lot happier and more wealthy and intelligent. Anyway, that's what empowers me. What did you put? Can't wait to read it. However, for now, I think we should go ahead and drink up some radioactive waste. Delicious. Whoa!
3, 2, 1.
Alrighty. So, our essential question for tonight that you will be able to answer by the end of this Wednesday is, how can one identify an independent clause from a dependent clause? What's the difference between them? Well, we're going to go ahead and break that down tonight. So, stick with me. Let's start it off first by understanding exactly what a clause is. In order to understand what an independent clause is and a dependent clause, we first need to talk about what a clause is. And I know it's the holiday season, but I'm not talking about Santa Claus. A clause is a group of words that has both a subject and a predicate. And there are two types of clauses, dependent and independent, which we'll go over tonight. So again, a clause is a group of words that has both a subject, so a noun or pronoun, and a predicate, so a verb, and any verb phrases that go with it. Now, let's focus on the first one. Yeah, that's right, I'm talking about an independent clause. But what is an independent clause? Let me tell you. As defined, independent means not depending on another for livelihood or subsistence. Basically, independent means standing on its own. You don't need anyone. You're strong by yourself. Why am I alone? Luckily, though, I'm independent. And you'll find that one independent clause actually equals something called a simple sentence, which is the first sentence type that we've discussed here at General Grammar. If you need additional information about it, make sure to check out episode 15 all about simple sentences. But enough plugging that. Let's go ahead and look at what exactly an independent clause is. Well, an independent clause is a group of words with at least one subject and one verb that can make complete sense by itself. So basically, an independent clause is a complete idea. So it has the one subject and the one verb, so it has all the elements of a clause. The big thing is with independent clause, because it doesn't need anyone else, it makes complete sense all by itself. It doesn't need that ride or die, that partner in crime. Let's look at some examples. Example 1. The pirate fell off his ship. Oh, ahoy, matey! Hopefully the pirate knows how to swim. Here you'll see that this is an independent clause because it has a subject, the pirate, and it has a predicate and a verb, fell off his ship. So when we initially look at this example, we can go, oh, it has a subject and a predicate. But the big thing is you want to ask yourself, does this make complete sense on its own? The pirate fell off his ship. Yeah, sounds complete to me. So, this is an example of an independent clause. Let's go ahead and look at another example. The ostrich attacked my cat. No, stay away from Empress Mini Kitty. My poor cat. Anyway, here we have the ostrich, which is the subject of the sentence. Then we have the predicate, the complete predicate. Attacked my cat. That's what the ostrich is doing. Stay away. And it makes complete sense all on its own. So this is an example of an independent clause. Let's go forward. Example 3. Mr. Goodie Grammar loves to wink. You're welcome. Here we have the subject, Mr. Goodie Grammar, that's me, and the predicate, loves to wink. Right here, subject, predicate, and it makes complete sense all on its own. Pretty cool, right? You know what's also cool? Putting it into practice. Here's what I want you to do. Go ahead and take a second and write an example of an independent clause. Anything. Write an independent clause about anything. Unicorns, shoes, Bumblebee the Transformer. It's completely up to you. In a sense, I'm basically asking you to write a simple sentence. What will you write about? Oh, we'll find out after you're done writing it and boop, dropping it into the comment section. What are you going to write about? Take a second and go ahead and write an example of an independent clause in the comments. While you do that, I'm going to sip my water and stare into the camera. Delicious. Well, whatever you came up with, I bet it's, whoa, incredible and independent. See, I just love to wink, huh? But that's only one clause, an independent clause. What about the other stuff? What about the dependent clause? Let's jump into that and see how they are similar and different. Well, what's a dependent clause? Well, a dependent clause, one, as we know, is a clause because it contains a subject and a verb. Absolutely. Those two are needed to make a clause. But, Mr. Goodie Grammar, how does that make it different from an independent clause? Well, although a dependent clause does have a subject and a verb, it begins a thought that it doesn't finish. It basically is not capable of standing on its own. A dependent clause is like an incomplete thought, and it relies on an independent clause to basically find its meaning. Pretty cool, right? And again, dependent basically means, I rely on you. I need you. I need you. Please. Anyway, let's go ahead and look at some examples of dependent clauses. Here we have, although he likes to smile. You ask yourself after reading this, although he likes to smile. Is that a complete thought? No. Yeah, we do have a subject, he, and a predicate, likes to smile, but it isn't a complete thought. Although he likes to smile, what? Similarly, you'll find in example 2. Because he entered the boxing tournament. Because he entered it, what? What happened? We don't know. That's why these two are dependent clauses. They have subject and verb, but they don't make complete sense. And usually, dependent clauses can be identified and started by using subordinate conjunction. Oh! What does that mean? I'm going to tell you. Well, subordinating conjunctions, basically the purpose of these words is to indicate the relationship between the dependent clause, also known as the subordinate clause, to the independent clause. What I mean by that is subordinating conjunctions connect dependent clauses to independent clauses and show how they relate in meaning and content. So they can show comparisons, similarities, whatever it may be. Addition, whoa, rationale. That's why we use subordinating conjunctions. Keep in mind, the importance of subordinating conjunctions is that subordinating conjunctions begin dependent clauses. That's why we're talking about them. Here's the thing though, there are tons of subordinating conjunctions. Tons of them. However, when you're starting off with trying to remember some subordinating conjunctions, guess what? You can remember 5 of them with the acronym SWABby. SWABby? Huh, sounds like a house elf from Harry Potter. Or a swab they put in your ear or nose. Anyway, we use the acronym SWABby to remember the most basic subordinating conjunctions. For example, S stands for since. W stands for when. A stands for although. B stands for because. And I stands for if. These 5 subordinating conjunctions can be remembered by going SWABby. As long as you remember 5, it's much easier to see the pattern and the effects that subordinating conjunctions have in sentences. So if you stumble across a subordinating conjunction that is not in SWABby, you can better identify it just by having this prior knowledge. And keep in mind, subordinating conjunctions, like these words right here, create dependent clauses and incomplete thoughts. Here's the interesting thing. You might be asking yourself, well, Mr. Goodie Grammar, how do we use subordinating conjunctions? Well, if you put a subordinating conjunction in front of an independent clause, it will automatically make a dependent clause. Wait a second, that's kind of confusing, right? A little bit, but hear me out. Let's say we have this independent clause. He entered the boxing tournament. Right here, this is an independent clause, or a simple sentence, because one independent clause makes a simple sentence. Anyway, this is an independent clause because it has a subject, he, and a predicate, entered the boxing tournament. However, let's say I want to make this a dependent clause. All I would have to do is put a subordinating conjunction, boop, at the beginning of the independent clause to make it a dependent clause. Let's see what happens when we put the subordinating conjunction because in front of our independent clause. We get because he entered the boxing tournament. Huh? Because he entered it what? What's going on? It is now an incomplete thought. This dependent clause would rely on an independent clause to go with it in order to make complete sense. So that's why these little subordinating conjunctions are so important. Also, a really important thing to note is where you punctuate the sentence when you have dependent and independent clauses. Well, make sure to put a comma, a pause, between the dependent clause and an independent clause if the dependent clause comes first. Whew, that was a mouthful. Let me go ahead and just summarize that. In a sentence, if a dependent clause comes before the independent clause, you want to put a comma between the two to separate them. For example, we could have this. Because he entered the boxing tournament, comma, he felt a sense of empowerment. That's what empowers him. You'll notice in this sentence, because he entered the boxing tournament is our dependent clause. And since the dependent clause comes first, I need to separate it from the following independent clause with a comma. So we have comma, he felt a sense of empowerment. He felt a sense of empowerment is ding, 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 ding. Guess what? The independent clause. So, if you have a dependent clause chilling out at the start of your sentence, make sure to set it off with a comma and then put the independent clause. Also, just as a quick reminder, if you have one independent clause and one or more dependent clauses, it creates something called a complex sentence. That's basically the sentence type that we're going to be talking about a lot tonight. So, get ready. Woo! But let's go ahead and flip it around for a second. The subordinating or dependent clause can actually start after an independent clause. We talked about how the dependent clause can come first. But now, let's talk about if the independent clause comes first. Well, if the independent clause comes first and then you have a dependent clause, a huge tip is to look for the subordinating conjunction in the sentence. Look for the word or words that create incomplete thoughts. And that will usually tell you where the incomplete thought begins. So let's take this sentence from before. We had, because he entered the boxing tournament, comma, he felt a sense of empowerment. What I'm going to do now is flip that around. So I get this. He felt a sense of empowerment because he entered the boxing tournament. Whoo! If you see, we started with the independent clause. He felt a sense of empowerment. That's our complete thought. Well, we know that our dependent clause starts right here because we have because he entered the boxing tournament. Period. Right there, the only difference is that we flip the structure around. You'll notice since this independent clause comes first, we don't need that comma to separate it from our dependent clause. Let me emphasize that again. If our dependent clause comes first, we need a comma to separate it from the independent clause. However, if our independent clause comes first, then we don't necessarily need a comma to separate it from our dependent clause. Pretty cool, right? All right. Let's hold off for a second, grammar goodies. Why? It's time for you to practice. Here's what I want you to do. Create an original sentence that begins with a dependent clause and ends in an independent clause. So, you're writing one sentence that begins with a dependent clause and ends in an independent clause. Mr. Goodie Grammar, but how shall I do something? Well, let me go ahead and give you a subordinating conjunction. You can use the word if to start off your dependent clause. You can write about whatever, but really follow the structure. If your dependent clause comes first, should you use a comma to separate it from the independent? We'll find out. So go ahead and take a second and create an original sentence. Then post it in the comments. I want to see what you're getting. And while you do that, I'm going to sip this and do a little dance. Whoa! Okay. Hopefully you can either pause me here so you can get it in there, or you can go forward with me because, woo! I think it's time that we ask for some employee assistance. We need some employee assistance. For this section, you will be given various sentences. Here's what I want you to do. Read each sentence and, depending on the question, identify either the independent or dependent clause in each sentence. What do you mean, Mr. Goodie Grammar? That's kind of confusing. Let me go ahead and re-explain. I'm going to read off a sentence, and then I'm going to ask you, grammar goodies, to either identify the dependent or the independent clause in the sentence. Oh, how will I answer it? Make sure to write the independent or dependent clause into the comment section, just so I know you know how to identify them. A huge tip, pay attention to punctuation and look for those little baby subordinating conjunctions. Let's do it! Question 1. I want you to find the dependent clause. Here we go. If you slide down that hill, you will crash. If you slide down that hill, you will crash. Go ahead and tell me what the dependent clause in the sentence is. What is the dependent clause? Hopefully you're not sliding down a hill right now. Ooh. Okay, here's the answer. The dependent clause in this sentence is, if you slide down that hill. Well, how do you know this is the dependent clause, Mr. Goodie Grammar? I'm so happy you asked. For starters, it starts with the subordinating conjunction if, which is what one of the letters of Swabi represents. If creates an incomplete idea. So we have, if you slide down that hill, all the way up to this punctuation mark. You will remember that if you start a sentence with a dependent clause, you need to separate it from the independent clause with a comma. So the correct answer is, if you slide down that hill. Don't do it! Yeah? Alright, question 2. Find the independent clause. Here it is. Roy never listens to his wife because he knows that she is always right. Let me read that again. Roy never listens to his wife because he knows that she is always right. What is the independent clause in this sentence? Go ahead and take a second. Well, I guess Roy can go ahead and ask her for the answer. I'm not proud of that one. All right, I'll go ahead and give it to you. The independent clause in this sentence is Roy never listens to his wife. Whoa! How do I know? Well, to start it off, there isn't a subordinating conjunction to start the sentence. Roy never listens to his wife. That has a subject, a predicate, and it makes complete sense all on its own. Then I know that the dependent clause starts after it because of the word because. So I know from here to the very end is going to be the dependent clause. So keep that in mind when trying to identify the independent and dependent clauses is, is there a subordinating conjunction? Where's the punctuation at? And it could completely help you out. How are you doing so far? All right, let's go on. Question 3. Find the dependent clause. Although Raina explored the depths of the universe, she did not find the meaning of life. Neither did I. Neither did I. Okay, what's the dependent clause in this sentence? Although Raina explored the depths of the universe, she did not find the meaning of life. Take a second and think about it. You go, Raina. Travel off and traverse the universe. Speaking of traversing, we're about to go on to the answer. The dependent clause in this sentence is, although Raina explored the depths of the universe. What? Well, it starts with the subordinating conjunction, although. And then it goes all the way to that comma. So we know that this will be our dependent clause. Because if the dependent clause comes first, we need to separate it with that comma. All right, for the next one. Here's what I want you to do. Find the independent clause in this sentence. So you're looking for the independent clause. The centaur charged the spider, although it did nothing to deserve the attack. A centaur is charging the spider, although it did not do anything to deserve that attack. Poor spider. What's the independent clause here? Huh? Centaurs. Sassy bunch, I hear. Alrighty, I think I gave you enough time. The correct answer is the centaur charged a spider. Whoa! Sassy centaurs. Right here we have the independent clause, the centaur charged a spider, and we know that the dependent clause starts with the word although, because it's one of our SWABI. Whoop! Pretty cool, right? Okay. For our fifth and final question of employee assistance, I want you to go ahead and find the dependent clause in this sentence. My parents will let me go to the party if I do my homework. Again, you're looking for the dependent clause. My parents will let me go to the party if I do my homework. What is the dependent clause, huh? I shall be opulent and bougie as I sip. Hydration. You know what's also very hydrating to me? Oh yeah, getting your answers. So make sure to post them into the comment section. What is the answer to this? The dependent clause? It's if I do my homework. What? How is that the answer? To start, it begins with an independent clause. My parents will let me go to the party. That's a complete thought, and it has a subject and a verb. Then we see, that saucy word if, which creates an incomplete thought, a dependent clause. If I do my homework. So we see that punctuation varies depending on where your independent and dependent clauses are positioned in the sentence. If the dependent clause comes first, you put a comma, followed by the independent clause. If your independent clause comes first, you don't necessarily need that comma. Just follow it up with your dependent clause. And in that case, make sure to identify it using the subordinating conjunctions. It will take time to get a lot of them into your noggin. But guess what? Over time and through repetition, you'll get it down. I just basically took an ice pick to my brain with all the subordinating conjunctions written on it and just put it in there. But don't try that at home, kids, or in general. Ow. Okay. Whew. Now that we did some employee assistance, I think it's time that I go ahead and check you in the aisle. What are we doing? Oh yeah, an aisle check. Ha. For this week's aisle check, here's what I want you to do. Go ahead and write 2 original complex sentences. Keep in mind, complex sentences are made out of 1 independent and 1 or more dependent clauses. So you'll write 2 complex sentences. One should begin with a dependent clause, and one should begin with an independent clause. You can use the same clauses, just make sure to flip the structure, so you can see how these types of sentences are accurately punctuated. Awesome, right? Yeah. Okay, so make sure to do that and put it into the comment section. And now, it's time to check out. Here's the thing, as a quick reminder of General Grammar's beautiful schedule. A new word of the A new word of the week is out every Sunday. This week's word is countenance. So make sure to go check that out. Also, we have live sessions every Wednesday on Facebook and posted later on YouTube. What are those sessions called? Oh yeah, they're called Wednesdays. Also, we're going to get some content episodes regularly. Also, sentence shoutouts. And what do you want me to teach? Go ahead and put that into the comment section. I want to know, what do you want to learn? And now, the thing you've all been waiting for. It's time for the Grammar Goodie Sentence Shadow of the Week. Yeah! What the Grammar Goodie Sentence Shoutout of the Week is, it is the top, best, most engaging, elaborate, fun, and funny sentence that we pulls from our comment section. You are superior, the apex grammar goodie. So, let's see if you got the shout out. Drum roll, please. Bam! The Grammar Goodie Sentence shout out of the week goes to, Claire P. Whoa! Claire, way to go. Claire used the word exude in an original sentence and then, boop, posted it into the comments. Claire's sentence is, the child exuded all kinds of violence on the barista. Make sure to tip your baristas extra because sounds like the child is going to turn into a Karen. We don't need any more of those. Anyway, exuded is used so accurately here by Claire. So the child let out, just exuded violence on the barista. Hopefully the child got its pumpkin spice latte. And you know what you get, Claire? The Grammar Goodie Sentence Shoutout of the Week. That's even more delicious. So congratulations and thank you so much for participating. And if you want the Grammar Goodie Sentence Shoutout of the Week, make sure to dabble in all our comment sections. Whether it's for Wednesday, Word of the Week, content episodes, TikTok, Instagram, whatever. Make sure to participate. Also, you can follow us on all our platforms. Our website, www.mrgoodiegrammar.com, Instagram, Facebook, and even TikTok for daily and weekly challenges. Let's improve your grammar with repetition and fun. Well, what a great night. Hopefully, you're more of an independent clause than a dependent clause. In a way, I'm a dependent clause because I depend on you in order to make my Wednesday a Wednesday. Thank you so much for dropping by General Grammar. And as always, my name is Mr. Goodie Grammar. And comma in anytime. I'll see ya. Whoa!